Let's start off with a Tottenham update, and let's go in, and we're going to start talking about Sergio Reguilon. Up first, Simon Jones from the Mail says that many clubs have reportedly showed interest in Tottenham's Reguilon, with Brentford most keen, and the Bees have even held talks, it has been claimed. And L'Equipe reports out of France saying Reguilon has agreed to join Brentford on loan. And I, for one, I want to make it as hard as possible for Brentford to sign Reguilon, to be honest. As much as I would like to see Reguilon move on, because I don't think he has a space in this squad, Brentford in particular, for their antics in the summer of what they did for us with David Ray, yes, I know it worked out better for us in the long run, where we are right now, and I'm very happy with Vicario. But for them to keep rejecting our bids and then bend over backwards to help Arsenal, I want to do everything in our power to make it as hard as possible for Reguilon to go to Brentford.
In terms of the move itself, it does make sense. Obviously, Brentford have Rico Henry out for the season. They're in need of a left back. I actually think he would really suit the way Brentford play, because he's got pace. He can really get up that left hand side if they play a back three. I think he could help them. I think they'll be hard pressed to get a better left back than Reguilon on the market right now for anything they can afford. But 100%, I think Levy should definitely be using his negotiation powers to make it as difficult for Brentford, because they did us no favours in the summer, and then they ended up doing Arsenal a favour by agreeing to a lesser fee and agreeing to a structure of the deal to massively benefit them as well. So that was really frustrating at the time, and I didn't quite understand why Brentford were making it very difficult for us, yet it seemed to be bending over Arsenal. So 100%, make them pay for it, and if they don't know, if they end up walking away, we'll give them someone else. I don't mind.
Yeah, if someone else will take him. I mean, there has been rumours of maybe like a Dortmund interested in him, but look, I think as much as joking aside, I think the more chance of him going out of the club, and any suitors, I think we'd just be open to any offers, to be honest, because it's not looking like his career is progressing as much as he would have liked. You know, you cast your mind back to when we signed him, one of the most sought after left backs in European football. It's actually mad to see how his career has gone since then.
Yeah, and now people walking, like, not even jumping at the chance of getting him on loan. Like, he's struggling to find clubs, so he needs to find somewhere to get his career back on track. And I don't even know if Brentford's that place, like, long term, because when Rico Henry comes back, I don't know if Reguilon will be starting regularly. But I think a loan deal in the Premier League for a team where the pressure's off him a bit, the standards aren't as high, maybe that'll benefit him. Yeah.
In terms of Bryan Hill, Mundo Deportivo saying that Bryan Hill does not want to go out on loan again this month without a purchase option or obligation. And I kind of understand where he's coming from, to be honest, because like Bryan Hill always seems to be like the last thought, although he's still being used. Came on against Manchester United yesterday, so there's clearly still a place for him with all the injuries and stuff that we got going on, players away with their internationals. So look, Bryan Hill needs to find a home somewhere, and he's not going to find a home somewhere with just going out on loan with no option or obligation to buy.
100%. I said this a year ago or 6 months ago. He needs to go on a permanent move. This loan thing, which he goes out on loan somewhere for 6 months, comes back to Tottenham, we kind of half give him a go, and then he goes back on loan again. It's not helping anyone, especially at least of all him, where his career's really badly stagnating, can't get a run of games at all for Spurs. And, you know, he can't as well, not only can not get a run of games, he can't display what he's about to other clubs, and he can't show what he can do, and that's leading to clubs being less interested in him. So he needs to find somewhere that really believes in him, really sees a future at, and where he can really start to build his career again. Because unfortunately for him, you know, signed with us in 2021 now, and it's now, you know, we're in 2024, and his stock's probably lower than it was when he signed for us. So for him, he needs to go somewhere where he's going to be starting every week, get his career back on track, and show everyone what he can do. Yeah. A bit like, well, look at Jack Clark. You know, I know he's in the Championship, but he's found a home somewhere, and he's performing really well. And all of a sudden, he's wanted by teams like West Ham. He's wanted by Premier League clubs. So it shows what you can do when you find somewhere which believes in you.
Yeah, and he's got talent. Bryan Hill's got a lot of talent. I'm just not sure if those talent is going to be realised at Tottenham. Every time he comes on, he flatters to deceive, let's be honest. And I've always been a big believer in his talent, but I just feel like he needs to go back home, go back to Spain, where he shows his value, shows his quality. Last year for Seville, he had a really good loan spell there, helped them win the Europa League as well. And he was quite pivotal in that run to the Europa League final. And he did some really good work there. So I just feel like going back to Spain, where he's clearly valued and shows his value as well, is probably the best course of action for his career, to be honest. In terms of potential incomings, let's talk about this interesting one. This is João Gomes. It's a publication called Gavea News out in Portugal says that Tottenham are preparing a substantial bid worth in the region of £30 million to sign Wolves midfielder João Gomes. Wolves aren't in the most stable situation financially and may be open to selling Gomes for the right price. I mean, he's having a fairly good season, João Gomes for Wolves. And would you, with Spurs in the hunt for a midfielder clearly from now until the end of the January transfer window, would this be a really good option for you?
I think so. I've actually been really impressed with him ever since he signed for Wolves. I think he signed either it was last January or it was in the summer. I can't remember which one exactly. But I think ever since he's come to the Premier League, he's actually been really impressive. And he's actually been a big part in that midfield of why Wolves have been so solid in midfield. And they always perform very well in that centre of the park. Him with Lamina as well, they've done a really good job. But he's a really good ball carrier. He's quite good at dribbling. He's quite press resistant as well, and he's got technical ability. I don't think he's got like the best shooting, but his passing's decent. He's got a decent passing range. I think he's really one of those players who like works really hard off the ball as well. I've been really impressed with it. I think he could play either a 6 or an 8 as well. Quite versatile in that. I think he can play both those roles. If there's a deal to be done, he's still quite young. I think he's at 22, so it's like I think he's got a really high ceiling as well. A lot of room to grow. And I think it would be a really promising signing. Whether Wolves have to do a deal and we can get a good deal for him. I mean, I feel sorry for Wolves because they just let go of Nunes for 45. They lost Neves to Saudi Arabia as well. Moutinho left. I think that was probably on a free in the summer.
Raul Jimenez,
he left as well. But in terms of like losing your best midfielders, like if you're a Wolves fan, you're like, okay, Neves and Nunes had to leave because of FFP. You can kind of half accept that. But then it's like, okay, we're still having trouble. We have to lose another one. That must be really, really frustrating. So I feel bad for them. But if we can take advantage of that, I'm all for it. I think he's probably more realistic as well than someone like a Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, there's also players in the mix. Hayden Hackney of Middlesbrough, who scored that goal against Chelsea, who's having a storming season. Young player coming through the ranks there who looks really good. Adam Wharton as well of Blackburn. The names on the list doing the rounds. And it looks as though they're kind of trying to find that new up-and-coming central midfielder that can maybe play dual roles of the 6 and the 8, which makes sense, to be honest. And in terms of João Gomes stacked up against those two midfielders and Hayden Hackney and Adam Wharton, would you prefer him over them two?
I think he's obviously more ready-made now, but the thing is, I kind of feel like I would rather a younger one. The reason being is because I look at our midfield.
All three of them around similar age.
I look at our midfield options, and I'd much rather. In a way, I'd much rather a player who's willing to kind of buy this time. He's not going to demand like maybe a first team slot straight away. Because I look at our midfield options, and we're pretty stacked. Like I think we have a lot of options. We don't need to add. Obviously, it would be great if we had depth and another quality midfield. Like if Conor Gallagher's available, I'm fine. But I'm happy as well to get a younger player like a Hackney or a Wharton, and kind of have them a bit like how we've treated Udogie and Sarr, like loan them out for review in a year's time once they have more experience coming into the first team. And in the meantime, we have Basuma, we have Sarr, we have Bentacle, we have Maddison, we have Lo Celso, we have Kulusevski, we have Skip even, who played quite well yesterday. Like, we have options there. I don't think there's any desperate need. So, look, if we're gonna, I'm happy with João Gomes, but as well, I understand the logic in getting like a young player from the Championship who's maybe going to be more ready in a year's time or so.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the way I look at it is like I'm looking at Hayden Hackney, and I've actually looked quite deep into him over the last week or so, and his stats look really good in terms of progressive passes, combativeness. I mean, he just looks like the player that we kind of need, and he's young, he's up and coming. He's doing a really good job. He played sublime game against Chelsea in the semi-final in the first leg, and with a Borough boy coming through the ranks there, I think it's going to be very hard to get someone like him out of a Borough when they're, on the cusp of making history and could get to a Carabao Cup final if they play their cards right in the second leg at Stamford Bridge. And I don't think he would want to move out of that. He would want to move himself out of that when he's a Borough boy and coming through the ranks there.
Well, you could sign him and loan him back.
That's kind of what I was coming to. And I think if we could sign him and loan him back for the rest of the season, or even make a move for him late in the window, maybe if they do go out to Chelsea in the second leg, maybe we could convince him, more chance of us convincing him if they are out of the cup, because they're not doing too great in the league. And I think he would want to stay just to make that history in the Carabao Cup. So Hayden Hackney would be my first choice in terms of a young and up and coming midfielder. João Gomes, I think 30 million. I don't think you get him for 30 million. I think he'll be a lot more than that, to be honest. Yeah. So are Spurs really going to splash the cash out of 40, 50 million for someone like João Gomes? Conor Gallagher is going to cost in that ballpark figure as well. Will Chelsea eventually actually deal with us? I question that as well. So I think Hayden Hackney and Adam Wharton are probably more realistic, to be honest, at this point.
Probably. And I agree with that. I think we should just go for whoever's more desperate to come and sees Spurs as their future, and not just someone who's coming because their club's in a financial trouble or something. I don't know. I just feel like we're in a good position midfield. There's no need to panic on any midfielder.
On that, what did you make of the Dragusin agent coming out as soon as he signed for Spurs, saying he sees himself as Real Madrid or a Barcelona player one day?
That agent loves to bloody talk, doesn't he? He's a yapper mouth, honestly. He
needs to sack that agent, honestly, seriously.
He's so annoying. It's not, his agent has got him in a lot of trouble, it feels. I feel like his agent wanted him to go to Bayern, by what he was saying. So it doesn't surprise me that he's saying all this rubbish. But why say it as soon as he's on the day he signs for Tottenham, he's saying all that stuff? It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's not a way to ingratiate yourself to a new club. I don't think he speaks for Radu, and I think that's shown by. I reckon the agent was pushing the Bayern thing, and he's I reckon that's why Bayern bid late on. I reckon the agent was saying, look, if you bid and give him more wages, he'll go to you. And I reckon Radu put his foot down saying, no, I want to go to Spurs. And I think his agent doesn't talk for him.
Apparently he rejected around double the wages that he was offered at Bayern. So big up to Radu Dragusin. It was good to see him make his debut yesterday. But let's move on and talk about big Dom Solanke of Bournemouth. Football Insider saying that Tottenham have been told a summer move for Dominic Solanke will cost over £50 million, which kind of makes sense with the amount of goals he's scoring this season. Would you like to see Solanke come in for over £50 million?
I don't know. I like him. I do like Solanke. I think he's last season even I thought he was playing well without maybe getting the goals he deserved, but this season he's really stepped up his output and he's showing he can really play at this level. He's physically strong, good in the air. He's really developed his finishing. I do really like him. Would I spend 50 million? I don't know if it's necessary to do that. I think you're paying a really high English tax for that, Solanke. And I don't know what kind of second half of the season he's going to have, if he's going to keep on his goal-scoring form.
Is he that much better than Richarlison?
I think he's
is it worth moving all the goalposts just to sign him? Because if you sign him, surely that means that Richarlison's going to make way for him.
Yeah, you would think so. You'd have to sign him because you're not fully in belief of Richarlison. That's the reality. Do I think he's better than Richarlison? I think he's playing better than Richarlison, even though Richarlison's in form. I still think Solanke's playing better than him. I do think he's better. I think he's a bit more physical. He's a bit stronger. I think he's I know Richarlison did a great job yesterday holding the ball up and all that, but I do think Solanke's better at all that stuff. And I think Solanke's better in the air, even though Richarlison's good in the air. So I do think he's better than Richarlison. But Richarlison could prove from now to the end of the season how much better he is. So I think it's a waiting game. If it's up to me, would I swap Solanke for Richarlison right now? I probably would, if you ask me, because I do think Solanke's better at what Richarlison's good at, if you know what I mean. But I still think Richarlison is proving himself, and he's got time to prove himself. So whether we do that in the summer, I highly doubt it.
Got to be wary with someone like Solanke, though, because this is his first proper good season in the Premier League. Last season, didn't pull up any trees. How many goals did he get last season? 5? 4, 5, 6,
6
something like
goals.
that.
But yeah, he did. But I thought he was still playing well, even though he only got 6 goals. And now Iraola is playing a lot more an attacking system, and look how his goal output's improved.
Yeah, it's true. But would I like go and try and sign him for over 50 million? I don't know, man. I think there are so many better options that you can get for over 50 million than Solanke, like Santiago Jimenez. You know, I reckon he would cost under 50 million coming from the Dutch league. So if we're going to spend that kind of money on a striker, I'd much prefer to go for him than a Solanke.
50 million doesn't get you much these days. Maybe a Jimenez because he's in the Dutch league. But other than that, it's really slim pickings for a good striker. That isn't actually that expensive.
But in reality, there is
for Brendan Johnson.
There is. But this is the English tax. I mean, we don't need to go for an English player. Like I think Santiago Jimenez has a much higher ceiling. He's much younger than Solanke as well. Jimenez is 22 years of age. Solanke's already 26, 27. So I don't know. I'd much prefer to go for Jimenez, to be honest. And last but not least, let's talk about Conor Gallagher. Ben Jacobs says that Conor Gallagher is not actively for sale, but Chelsea would likely accept a guaranteed fee of around 45 million and an overall package of 55 to 60 million. Tottenham are now expected to focus on signing a central midfielder and are yet to discount a move for Gallagher. However, they do not want to pay above 35 million in the summer.
Well, that ain't going to happen then.
Yeah.
So he's very important to Chelsea. He's at the moment with James out. He's been their captain for pretty much the whole season. Starts every game. He's usually one of their better players. So there's no reason for them, unless they're that desperate on the FFP thing, that they just have to get him out.
His contract is running down, though,
but surely, like, why are we the only ones in for him? Wouldn't other teams be in for him for that sort of price, you would think? Like, if we're only prepared to go to 35, surely there's a club out there that's willing to go to 45 or whatever, or 55. So, yeah, his contract is running down. That's a good point. So maybe that adds an air of desperation as well if he can't agree a deal. But I don't know. I don't think we're going to get him for 35. Maybe in the summer, if there's really no other option and he's not going to sign a deal and no other teams are in for him, maybe they might be desperate. But I think that's a very specific set of circumstances.
Yeah. I like Conor Gallagher. I think he would fit to what we're doing so well. I just can't see this being a deal that's going to happen. Chelsea, Spurs doing business together for Chelsea's best player and captain at the moment. It just doesn't seem like a viable option at the end of the day. And he might end up going to like a Man United or end up just like signing the contract at the end of the day. So,
yeah, I think there's a good chance he'll sign the contract.
Yeah. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below any of your thoughts regarding any of those transfer rumours.